It's been a while since I've made a video, but today, on the anniversary of 9/11, I feel compelled to speak out. Now, my last videos were made as an attempt to get the men's rights movement to actually start organizing and moving things off blogs and YouTube and the internet as a whole. And I put forth what I thought to be the best solutions to move forward, but more importantly, I made it abundantly clear that if anybody had better plans, that I would love to hear them. Now, unfortunately, the number of people who contacted me with interest in my solutions were too little, and the number of people who put forth any alternatives were pretty much zero. And so it was at that point that I told myself that the men's rights movement, at least at this point in time, is not strong enough to affect any real change. And in my honest opinion, I feel that if the men's movement ever does get to the point where it can actually make a difference, it's relatively far off into the future and it isn't happening anytime soon. I also worry that it's almost inevitable that a successful men's movement will at some point in time be infiltrated by all sorts of agenda-driven charlatans that will do everything they can to steer the men's movement into serving their own biased interests instead of those interests that will benefit men and men only. Even at a point in time when the men's movement is in its infancy, you have disingenuous people who are trying to make the men's movement synonymous with so-called moderate feminists, right-wing anti-man warmongering partisanship, and gay men's rights. Not men's rights, but gay men's rights. And these are the types of people who say things like, I think feminism was needed, but the pendulum swung too far, and it must be balanced back for equality with men. These type of people will never tell you that feminism was never and never will be about women's rights, but always was about misandry. And this is a way of getting men to acknowledge the validity of feminism. And it's a scam and it's a lie. Now, these guys, they go ahead and talk endlessly about the very real misandry of Western left-wing political policies, but it's never to expose the misandry. It's to get you to join the just as misandric, warmongering, and oftentimes racist right-wing political party they stump for. These individuals claim to be for freedom and liberty, but they're hypocrites, cowards, and liars, and on this channel, they'll be exposed every chance I get. Now, we also have the types that are more worried about making gays feel comfortable than they are about securing freedom for men. Now, they'll constantly talk about gay men being men too and how we should accept them, but they'll never tell those same gay men to openly denounce the Marxist feminist spin-off that is the gay rights movement. A movement that has since its inception walked hand in hand with its goose-stepping feminazi counterparts, throwing heterosexual men under the bus every chance they get along the way. These are the types of people that permeate the ranks of a men's movement currently in its infancy, and they'll only grow along with the movement. And so I came to the conclusion that I could no longer speak for the men's rights movement, but I do from this point on want to speak to men, specifically men going their own way, and what it means to be a man going his own way according to me. And so this is what my videos will center around from this point forward. Now, these videos are going to be directed at men who have understood that men going their own way are their own men, nobody else's. They don't belong to anybody, they don't belong to a movement, not a woman, they don't belong to a flag, not a political party, not even a country. We are our own sovereign human beings and only have loyalty for what we individually believe merits our loyalty, nothing else. We don't need any patriotism or nationalist bullshit. We almost exclusively reside in the West, where we're treated like public enemy number one, so we don't owe the West and the nations of the West shit. They tax the shit out of us and then give our money to single mothers, or they put it towards making bombs to drop on other men half a world away. So as far as men going their own way are concerned, if we ever did owe anything to the countries of the West, we're paid up in full. We work, and they take our money out of our checks before we even see them, so we don't owe them shit. If anything, they owe us. Well, my videos from now on will focus more on teaching men going their own way how to navigate society as opposed to changing it within corrupt anti-male political left-right paradigms. Men going their own way are the only men that are free in the West because we simply do not care about saving women. We want nothing to do with your war on terror. We want nothing to do with child support. We exist within your system, but they don't even see us or know where we are because we don't show up on any radar. And I'll explain what I mean by that in upcoming videos. But for today, since it's 9/11, I want to focus on the other misandry, the other PC, and the misandry of the right that led us into the killing fields of Iraq after 9/11, which resulted in the deaths of millions of men. just for the liars who try to persuade men into believing that the right wing is the party for men or men going their own way. Now, I want to introduce the other PC as the growing, ever-present heavy hand of government that used 9/11 to institute a real-life Orwellian dystopia throughout the West in which men are always looked at with suspicion, and in which men are expected to fight wars and die for. And I want to also define the other PC as the erosion of the civil liberties that men cherish, and how those erosion of liberties oppress men just as thoroughly as any child support racket or domestic violence scam. 9 years after 9/11 and the right-wing led war on terror, are things any better for men? Do men have more freedom? Are less men dying in wars? Are any women dying in wars? Well, the answer to that one is no. Are there any feminists dying in wars? Again, no. Now let me say again that women have never in recorded history overthrown an oppressive government. So let's ask ourselves what we see in any major Western city in the world. Well, we see cameras on every street corner. We see full body scanners at airports. We see an increasingly hostile police force that is at this point indistinguishable from the military, toting submachine guns for our safety. It's all for our safety. We need to be safe. Big government needs us all to be safe. But who exactly do we need to be safe from? And more importantly, who is really being protected? We never managed to catch any actual terrorists, but we do manage to send men off to die in wars, and our police forces do manage to regularly tase, shoot, and even kill unarmed men on a regular basis. Men are still dying on the job much more than women, so where is all this safety that our governments claim to be dispensing for the people, and specifically for men? You see, the reality is that it's the men of the West that the governments of the West see as the terrorists. Men of the West are sent out to wars where they kill people and literally lose their minds from doing so. If these men don't end up killing themselves and they come back from war as trigger-happy killers, and the only jobs they seem to want are on police forces so that they can come back and shoot another man dead after domestic violence disputes, or even just for pulling something out of your pocket that might look like a gun to them. The federal government sets up counter-terrorist strike teams to look for domestic terrorists, which pretty much equates to any man of the West that poses any threats to the governments of the West. And this is one of the many purposes of feminism's fetish with emasculation of men. It's a way of conditioning men to be unable to resist the force and tyranny of their respective governments. Those men who will not fall in line are given the opportunity to be good citizens and go die in wars for the benefit of big government. And any men who speak out against the misandry of the war on terror are called unpatriotic. Now remember that misandry means the hatred of men. What better way of expressing a hatred towards men than sending them off to go get blown up in unnecessary wars and telling them that they're serving their countries while doing so, while at the same time making it very clear to men of the West that when it comes time to protect men from things like divorce and alimony, that same country only seems to serve women. You can serve your country, but your country will only serve women, not you. Men going their own way consider men that throw around meaningless right-wing political syntax like, quote, defending the West from Islamo-fascism, end quote. We see these people as our enemies, and we see them for exactly what they are. Now you notice that so many of these right-wing partisans in the men's movement never seem to have served any time in the military during the war on terror. They just want everybody else to do the fighting for them. And this is what I mean when I talk about the other PC, the kind that sends men off to die in wars but is always suspicious of these same men at home. Now I wanted to show you a video from the Department of Homeland Security so that you can see exactly what kind of police state right-wing political correctness and fear-mongering is creating for us all.
Under the Future Attribute Screening Technologies, or FAST program, the Department of Homeland Security is developing innovative physiological and behavioral screening technologies to streamline the screening process at security checkpoints. In support of this program, Battelle has partnered with industry leaders Farber Specialty Vehicles and Draper Laboratories to design and develop a portable research facility for the development and demonstration of innovative security screening technologies, the FAST Demonstration Laboratory. The mobility of the FAST Demonstration Laboratory allows security officials to quickly and efficiently establish security boundaries at any location, making it useful for everything from large sporting events, border crossings, or airports. The screening mobile module provides a checkpoint to establish or supplement security facilities at points of entry. At special events, attendees pass through the screening mobile module. The unique low-floor trailer design ensures accessibility for all. Inside the screening mobile module, a suite of real-time, non-invasive sensors measure behavioral and physiological indications of malintent, or the intent or desire to cause harm.
Prints on that map. What I'm going to have you do is, can you put your purse in your pocket or just to the side there? I'm going to have you look in my direction. Just keep your hands kind of to the side and try and refrain from moving. Okay, just try and remain as still as possible, and we'll begin soon. Did you show your ID to the first guard?
Yeah.
Are you attempting to smuggle an explosive device into the expo today? Are you from the local area?
Yeah.
Are you attempting to smuggle a recording device into the expo today? Have you been in the local area all day today? Do you plan to detonate an explosive at the expo today? Do you plan to illegally record any information at the expo today?
Now, word for word, what this video says is that the Department of Homeland Security is deploying these mobile command centers with computer sensors to, and I quote, measure behavioral and physiological indications of malintent or the intent or desire to cause harm, end quote. Now, if you listen carefully enough, you'll have just realized that this is what amounts to our governments trying to prevent crime before it happens, which is exactly what you saw in George Orwell's 1984. Exactly. Now, this is here in America, the policing of thought crime. And these right-wing hypocrites love to compare the left to George Orwell's 1984, yet here we are seeing a thought crime detection machine on American streets as a result of their cowardice and anti-freedom war on terror. This is the reason I tell men going their own way to absolutely avoid any government affiliation, whether it be right or left wing, and learn how to ghost. Now, I could go on forever about this kind of stuff, but just remember that the war on terror isn't for men going their own way. Right-wing politics in any form is not for men going their own way. America is not for men going their own way. So stop dying for flags and political parties and a constitution that nobody on both sides of the political spectrum enforces, and start on your own path. Wipe your hands of the misandry of the war on terror and understand the duality of political correctness and how it terminally infects everything in our governments. Remember that the presence of left-wing hypocrisy does not negate the possibility of it being just as strong on the right. Remember that these hypocrites want freedom only when it benefits them. Right-wing bullshit artists claim to be for men, but here they are complaining about a ground zero mosque when men are dying in wars they supported and still support to this very day. That's all I really got to say for now. Good night, God bless.